Hi, I'm Lauren O'Reilly. I'm a qualified pharmacist and your host of the Wellness Script podcast. I'm delighted to be joined in studio today by Claire Fulham, a trichologist and the founder of Trua Clinic, as well as Remi Scalp Care. Claire lost 90% of her hair and has turned her experience into expertise, now helping thousands of people with hair loss, hair thinning, and scalp-related issues. Here is my conversation with Claire. Hi, you are very welcome to the Wellness Script. I am so excited to have you on here because as a pharmacist, we deal so much with people who are losing their hair. We get questions about it. And it's an area that I feel like is so under-discussed. And like you have personally gone through a journey and experience of 90% hair loss.
Yeah.
And now you help people to get their hair back, which is incredible. And all of the journey along the way to that. You know, so I'd love to talk about habits that we could have for hair growth.
Healthy new year and healthy hair and all that kind of stuff. I suppose if I could give people any advice, and I'm talking to everyone here, from children to people in their 80s and 90s to that kind of way, it would be exfoliate your scalp.
Wow.
So to get a chemical exfoliator, not an exfoliator that has all those bumps and beads within it.
Okay.
Something that's leaning into glycolic, lactic, salicylic acid.
Okay.
So very much like skincare, you know, like back in the 90s, like you won't remember, Lauren, but back in the 90s, we used to like scrub our faces with like clear salt, all the big yolks.
Yeah.
All of those big brands, and they have all of the cannonballs within them, right? And we'd scrape the skin off ourselves and perfect, like looking great, you know? And we still actually, a lot of the big brands still have those for the scalp, you know? But what we've seen over the years is that they can cause so many different abrasions on the scalp. It can exacerbate different conditions. We don't always have, you know, an option of like getting rid of all of that as well from the scalp. So really leaning into chemical exfoliation like we do with skincare, you know? So if I could give that piece of advice to everybody, I absolutely would, you know?
So we start to think about our scalp as an extension of our skin, because it is.
Your scalp is skin, you know? So we do a huge amount of stuff to our skin, you know? And as every year that goes by, I seem to be adding more stuff in, right? So like that, if I could say, okay, if you can get all of that stuff, it's like a flower bed. If it's like the leaves have been falling down all autumn and then you expect the daffodils just to pop up through all of those leaves, it's going to struggle, you know? Whereas if you get rid of some of that debris, so you don't need to have physical debris on the scalp, but of course all of us have a level of debris on the scalp. So dead skin cells, sweat, pollution that's fallen on us, products that we use. So if you're gonna make it harder, you know, for the actual hair to get through the scalp. But not only that, like that buildup can contribute to different conditions as well.
Okay.
So getting rid of that buildup once a week. So it's not this like laborious chore. I'm not adding to your to-do list too much.
Yes.
So just once a week, use a chemical exfoliator. Before your hair wash, your scalp will be healthier, happier, and it will grow as much hair as possible.
Okay. And so for somebody who comes to me, say in a pharmacy setting, and they have, you know, dandruff, or maybe they've got some scalp psoriasis, like how much of that is kind of your genetic makeup versus like things that we are doing that is maybe insulting the scalp, if you know, like
it depends on what conditions. So like let's say dandruff, like for years we were told, you know, oh, it's nothing to do with our lifestyle, but we now know that some of it is contributed to lifestyle. So, you know, not washing your scalp enough, that's a big one that will exacerbate dandruff. So I think of dandruff like the acne of the scalp almost. If we had facial acne, we would wash our skin like twice a day, you know, and we treat it twice a day. Whereas like we've kind of gotten down this, you know, hole of it's better not to wash your hair and your scalp, and there's loads of old wives' tales around that. But absolutely, if you have something like dandruff, you need to be washing your scalp every day, every second day to lift that dandruff up. And dandruff is an overproduction of oil. It's a seborrheic issue. It's not a dryness. Whereas a lot of people will use the word dandruff for any flake. But flakes are different. They have different, you know, They have different textures, they have different smells, they're there for different reasons. So dry scalp and dandruff are the opposite to each other.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's that kind of almost like the way that I'm thinking of it as you say it is like when babies get cradle cap. That's the kind of dandruff, that's
in the same family.
Yes.
So you've got cradle cap when they're babies, right? Then you might get an oily scalp as a teenager. That might turn into dandruff as you get older.
Okay.
And then it's seborrheic dermatitis. So all of those conditions are seborrheic issues. Due to inflammation on the scalp, due to sebaceous glands producing too much oil.
Okay.
So those types of conditions, they need to be washed regularly, you know. And a lot of people go, oh, I have flakes, it's dry. I shouldn't overwash a dry scalp, so I won't wash, and that exacerbates the condition. And you don't want to get to seborrheic dermatitis. There is a clear route and ladder to getting there.
Okay.
So let's try and control the dandruff where we can. Like I know people, God love them, they'll have to get out of bed, you know, to wash their scalp because of the seborrheic dermatitis is so itchy.
Wow.
So you really don't want to get to seborrheic dermatitis, you know. So it's about trying to teach people from a young age, you know, that exfoliation is not going to completely mitigate that. But if we had our teenagers exfoliating their scalps, they're going to be able to manage different conditions throughout their lifetime, do you know?
Yes. And I love what you touched on. There's so much in that, but I love what you touched on in terms of washing your hair too much. Like I've had friends who have probably had more of an oily scalp or greasy hair, let's say, and then say that they're trying to space out their washes or like somehow train their scalp. And I don't know the answer to that. It's not something that we cover. So like, how do you know how often to wash your hair? And I'm guessing that it's dependent on your hair type.
Yeah, exactly. Your hair type and your scalp type. So if your scalp gets oily, wash it. Your body's telling you to wash it. So don't start getting the dry shampoo out and like ignoring it for 3 days.
Okay.
You know, that kind of way.
Okay.
If your scalp's oily, please wash your scalp. That's what your body's telling you that you need. So if you think of like somebody with fine hair, okay, even if they've loads of fine hair, they will probably get an oilier scalp more so than somebody like yourself, Lauren, who has a lot of dense, more textured hair. Okay. So the person over here with fine hair, they actually have more hair than you, Lauren, right? Believe it or not. They have 100
strands.
Yeah. So they have 150,000 follicles in their scalp.
Right.
You've got about 80,000 follicles in your scalp. Okay.
I thought I'd loads.
But you've enough. I've enough. So and I'm somewhere in between those. Okay. So that person with 150,000 follicles, they also have 150,000 sebaceous glands.
Oh, wow.
Because every follicle has a sebaceous gland.
Okay.
So that means Mary down the road with her beautiful, fine blonde hair she's going to have to wash it more than you're going to have to wash it because her scalp will produce more sebum because she's got, you know, thousands more sebaceous glands on her scalp. So if you have fine hair, you'll generally have to wash it more. If you have very textured hair, so a lot of curly girls, a lot of people with textured coily hair as well. A lot of redheads actually would kind of more fall on the drier scale, but their hair is fatter. Their hair is denser. So me and you look like we've loads and loads of hair, right? And we do, we've enough hair, right? But we actually don't have as much hair. So it is all about the texture of your hair. But what I would say to people is like, listen to your body. If you do need to wash it, stop running away from it.
Okay.
And people think it's damaging to clean your scalp regularly. It's not damaging to your scalp if you're using the right shampoo.
There we go.
What's damaging can be the stuff you do after, like the hairdryer, the 25-year-old straightener, you know, all of that stuff. That's what can be damaging to the hair. Okay. Because reality is like you're trying to keep your leather jacket looking gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yes.
Right? You can't change the leather jacket because the cow's well dead, right? So your hair's dead as a dodo. But we spend so much money trying to revitalize that hair.
Right.
We're never going to do that. You can't wake the dead, unfortunately, you know? So it's trying to kind of keep that, you know, at the forefront of your mind when spending your money and making efforts to your scalp and hair.
So once your hair is grown, it's not like it's not an active cell or an active thing in your body. It's just there. And it's so the only thing that's living is the gland, the cell the gland at your scalp level.
Within the scalp, within the skin, you know?
Okay.
So actually the first day that your hair pops out of your scalp, it's dead. So it's a dead cell. Wow. It's dead protein.
Okay.
You know, like
so when
nails.
you're putting your oils and stuff, it's cosmetic. It's just like for today. Yeah. But when you're saying about the habits and like washing your hair if it's screaming that it needs a wash, that's we're thinking about long-term scalp and hair health, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I always say to people, when you're shopping for shampoos and conditioners, the marketing teams and all these organizations will tell you to buy the matching shampoo and conditioner, right? But I'm like, no. So shop for the shampoo shampoo for the scalp you have.
Okay.
So if I have an oily scalp, I'm shopping for an oily scalp. If I have a dandruff prone scalp, I'm shopping for that. Okay.
Yes.
If I have fine hair, I might get an energizing shampoo. So shop for the scalp you own when it comes to your shampoo. When it comes to conditioners, masks, leave-in products, all that kind of stuff, shop for the hair you want.
Oh.
So do you want shine? Do you want texture? Do you want volume? Do you need a bit of repair because you're highlighting your hair every 6 weeks,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's why your scalp and your hair are totally different proteins.
Okay.
It's like putting nail varnish on my elbow. You know, it's not going to do the same thing. So like when people are like, I don't know why I'm not getting success with this shampoo and conditioner because I've asked for shine and my hair's dull. Like what's going on? I'm like, well, Mary, you've got 150,000 follicles that you're not looking after. So you do need to shop very differently for your scalp and your hair.
Okay.
Don't overthink that, right? So like, you know, look, the brands will give you clues.
Yes.
So look for things like fine hair, oily scalp, that's your shampoo, okay? And then you're going to look for, because you've blonde hair, you're going to look for an element of repair, strengthen when it comes to your masks and your leave-in products and all that kind of stuff. But we should be shopping very differently for our scalp and hair to get the most success.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And are there products out there that people are buying that you think are like a waste of money, as in not brand name and shame, but as in like just like gimmicks or things that people are falling for? Maybe they're online or
Shampoo's a real gimmick. You know? Shampoo is like fancy soap, right? So shampoo, you don't, if there's something wrong, you need to spend money on shampoo. So our psoriasis patients are, you know, if you're very oily scalp, if you've hair thinning, hair loss, we're not talking to you.
Yeah.
The average Joe, I would say, you know, not spending too much money on your shampoos and your conditioners, to be honest, you know.
Okay.
You don't always, you spend a lot of money on your color.
Yeah.
Invest in a good conditioner or mask.
Okay.
But you don't need to be spending so much money. Also, repair shampoos are the biggest waste of money ever.
Okay.
You have to remember, like, when you wash your scalp and then you wash it out, it's gone, right? Like, a lot of what happens when you wet your hair, the cuticle of your hair goes up like this. So when you're in the shower, the cuticle goes up. You've all seen the ads, right, of the cuticles going up. So when you get a conditioner, there's huge molecules in a conditioner that it will close the cuticle of your hair.
Okay.
And then it will rinse all that off.
Right.
A mask, tiny molecules in a mask. So when your hair is lifted by the water and all of the stuff is coming out of your hair, so you're washing your hair, a mask's molecule is so small that it's able to go inside the hair and actually do something. It's not going to wake the dead, but it will do something to strengthen that leather jacket. Okay. So it will really kind of reinforce that hair. So like that, you know, spending, you know, a little bit of money every now and again, you know, on something that's going to be able to do that. But even I'm a little bit against that.
Okay.
You don't need to spend major money on your hair to have good hair. And I think, but you do need to spend a little bit of money on your scalp to have good hair.
From a pharmacist's point of view, when it comes to staying on track with our wellness habits, consistency is usually the hardest part, especially when it comes to key aspects like hydration, energy, joint support, or even just winding down in the evening. When you're on the go, it can be really easy to let these slide. That's why I've been really interested in Irish-owned vitamin company and today's sponsor, Sona Vitamin's new effervescent range. It's designed to make daily support easier without adding another complicated step to your routine. It's also helping me stay on track with hydration goals as I add something really tasty and nutritious to my water. They have just launched their Electrolyte Sport Hydration Effervescent for rehydration and post-workout recovery. They have their Immune Triple Action for immune support, and then Joint Plan Effervescent to support comfortable movement, and my personal favourite, Magnesium 300 milligrams with vitamin B6. This is ideal in the evening when you're trying to unwind and ease those tired muscles. You'll find Sona's effervescent range in local pharmacies and select health stores nationwide or at sona.ie. Now, let's get back to the episode. Right. Okay. And that's also thinking about long term. Like, even if you don't have problems with your scalp now, we're all getting older. We're all going to be 80 one day, you know, and hopefully still.
Please God.
Yeah, please God. Hopefully, you know, have good hair still or have a healthy scalp. So I think for anyone who's listening who maybe is experiencing scalp or hair related issues, I think it'd be lovely to hear how you got into this, Claire. Like, your story is crazy. You have the most stunning head of hair.
Thank you.
And yet you lost 90% of it.
Yeah. So I lost 90% of my hair. It's coming up to the 10-year anniversary now. So this year it'll be 10 years, which seems like 10 months, but it also seems like 100 years ago as well. I've lived a life within those 10 years, let me tell you. So I found a patch of what I now know was alopecia areata in my split.
Okay.
So I thought I was just curling my hair and I put the straightener too close to my scalp. I'd never seen anything like that before. And it was bald and shiny, about the size of my fingernail. You know? So I went into work and I was like, what's this? To all the L ones in work. Have you ever seen something like this before? They were like, oh, and all of them like, it's alopecia, you know? And I was like, oh, shut up, it's fine. But then I did notice that, like, and being a redhead and having a lot of hair, I shed a lot of hair, okay? But I noticed that it was more. I was scooping. I was embarrassed by it. I was scooping it up. I was putting in the bin, like, before the office cleaner would come in. I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. So then I was like, okay, maybe I should go to the doctor. So I went down to my local GP. She had a cancellation and she found 5 big patches on my scalp, one the size of my fist at the back of my head, that I obviously hadn't noticed myself. Don't know what my husband wasn't looking at. But anyway, and she told me it's alopecia areata and there's nothing you can do.
Wow.
You know, went over to the pharmacy in a blind panic. They probably should have given me Xanax, to be honest, but I was in a blind panic and what can I do? And again, I was met with the same information. There's nothing you can do. Okay. So I went back to work because classic Claire, she couldn't, take an hour off. Went back to work with this news and I was just Googling frantically, So I made an appointment with a dermatologist, but it was like 6 weeks and I knew I wouldn't have hair by then.
Wow. Okay. It was that quick of a timeline that it was falling out at that rate. Okay.
Yeah. So, and like people always say, how do I know my hair is shedding?
Okay.
Like your hair is always shedding. You're supposed to lose 50 to 100 hairs a day.
Okay.
It's normal, in the shower, when you brush your hair, so don't panic about that. But when there's an increase, you'll see it everywhere. It's in the bolognese, it's all over the car, it's everywhere,
Mom.
Yeah. So it's really like there's no mistaking that change when it happens, you know. So again, I got a cancellation with the trichologist. I went in and again, she said to me, it's going to get really worse before it gets better, Claire. It's alopecia areata. This is what you can do, and gave me options about different treatments I could do, all that kind of stuff. So I booked in straight away because I was always like, Claire with the red hair, like it was such an identifiable part of my personality,
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't have no hair, you joking, So I went back, I did all the lotions and potions and everything else, but in 5 weeks I had no hair. So it went from one tiny patch, there was others there, of course, I didn't see, to 90% of my hair was gone.
Wow.
So, I mean, Rapunzel to Phil Mitchell is quite is quite intense,
Yeah.
So I think at that time I was in a panic. I remember my mom gently, Claire, I think we need to go get you a wig, because I couldn't really hide it anymore. And I was still, again, classic Claire, still working, and I was still pushing through what was going on. So when I got my wig, and I think when I got my wig, people were like, oh, she's grand now. She's got to look lovely.
Yeah.
She's got better hair than you used to have, Claire, because it's gorgeous, big, expensive wig,
Yes.
But there was obviously something going on within me, you know, that I didn't address.
The
and
body
to be honest,
was telling you something.
Yeah. It's probably still haven't addressed completely, So what I've learned now is that alopecia areata is, of course, an autoimmune condition. So it's very, very prone to eruption when stressed, And I have learned over the years, that how to manage that and how it will exacerbate. And I almost know now when I'll see a patch of alopecia.
Wow. Okay. So it comes back even though you have, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. So I haven't got a patch in a while. Surprise, I haven't got a patch in a while. I will have one soon. I know I will.
Because you've been busy or stressed okay.
Yeah. Now I'm much better at handling my stress now.
Okay.
But back then I got 2 young kids. I was paying a mortgage I couldn't afford. I was trying to keep a lot of plates in the air. And being a young mother, I had my first child when I was 23. You're really trying to prove to everyone that I'm going to do this. Don't worry about me. And then all of my hair was on the floor. They were really worried about me. So I think, that was the start of it. And I went to every, dermatologist I could find, every trichologist I could find, and nobody sat me down and explained to me what that was. And I was then on an absolute mission to change that. I was like, I have to learn this. I have to go to college. I have to understand this to the best of my ability. I didn't think I'd be doing this now, you know, and doing it for 5.5 years and have 2 businesses because of it. I did not think it would bring me there.
Yeah.
And like it was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life, but it's certainly one of the best things that ever happened to me, you know? And I think that it's funny how life presents you with these difficulties, you know, and you can either, can I say grab them by the balls? You can either you can grab them by the balls or you can sink down into the canal, you know? And I think I did sink down into the canal, but I had to push myself back up again, you know? And thank God I did.
The obstacles the way and all that.
That's it. Yeah.
And you mentioned trichologist. You are a trichologist. So that's since then that you became a trichologist. And what is that for anybody who's never heard of it before?
So trichologist, exactly. People are like, what? Like, so trichologist is a specialist in scalp and, you know, hair loss conditions.
Okay.
So anything from dandruff to alopecia totalis, universalis. So what we do is, and I suppose what's really unique to a trichologist as well, is like that is all we focus on. So when you do go to a dermatologist, of course, they're checking you from, you know, your toes to your scalp, you know. So we're just completely focused on the scalp area. Obviously, you've got hair all over your body, most of us, you know, we're trying to laser it off and everything else. We're trying to put it somewhere else and laser it off other places. But a trichologist can look after any sort of inflammatory condition of the scalp, you know? So again, from psoriasis to telogen effluvium to androgenetic alopecia, frontal fibrosing alopecia. So we can look after all that. The thing that a trichologist can't do is prescribe, you know? So that's where we need to team up with our GPs. We need to team up with our dermatologists then to be able to give people advice if they need medication. Not everybody needs medication, of course, you know, for different challenges that they have.
And so if somebody is noticing that they're losing hair, whether, I suppose, a different advice applies, but whether it is something like a bald patch or it's just like maybe male pattern baldness or as women get older and go through the menopause and things, they might notice thinner hair. Where do they start? Like what, like, cause I see people coming into the pharmacy, picking up a bottle of, you know, something to help with their hair, the classic minoxidil that we, you know, the shampoos that people, you know, spend a lot of money on. And like, where do they begin, or where could someone like me even advise them?
Learn more about it. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but a trichologist is a great source of information.
Go straight to the trichologist.
I would go straight to a trichologist. Like you're waiting less time than a dermatologist. We'll always work alongside dermatologists as well. And if somebody needs a steroid injection, or somebody needs minoxidil, or somebody needs, you know, steroid creams, all that kind of stuff, we can go back to their GP. We can go back to the dermatologist, you know. The trichologist is absolutely specialized in what they do. You know, they live and breathe it every day. I can spot a type of alopecia from the top of a moving bus, you know. So it's really, really important. I would absolutely lean on a local trichologist that's in your area. There's not that many of us. And it's not, you know, it's not as, I suppose, regulated as it should be. It kind of irritates me a little bit. So find a trusted source, get a recommendation, look people up, make sure that you're doing really kind of qualified work on that, you know. But a trichologist like saved my life. It sounds dramatic, but they did. So I think a trichologist will be able to point you in the right direction, and they'll be able to be realistic with you and set expectations at you. Because a patch of alopecia is very different to androgenetic alopecia. Androgenetic is chronic. Very different situation, very different way of dealing with that. So all of the different hair loss types, or all of the inflammatory conditions, psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, they're all really specific, you know.
And what is that, the androgenic?
Androgenetic alopecia is male and female pattern hair loss. Okay. So we don't call it male and female pattern anymore. We call it androgenetic, right? So they're the same condition, except that most men will get the male version and most females will get the female version. Now that doesn't always apply. I've seen plenty of females with male pattern. I've seen plenty of, you know, more so that way, instead of, you know, males having female pattern. It's normally women as well that have raised levels of androgens in the body. So maybe they have PCOS, maybe they have endometriosis, maybe they're going through menopause, you know. But generally what androgenetic alopecia is for a man, it's like 2 like parking spots up here. So their hairline will start to regress into kind of just above the temple, and a little penalty point at the back. So that's the way a man will start, and eventually they male try and meet each other somewhere in the middle here.
Right.
Okay. And then a female, what female pattern looks like, which is still androgenic alopecia, is their split just keeps getting wider.
Yes.
So as we get older, you know, that kind of will start to widen a little bit. Now, of course, females will lose hair on their hairline. That's generally linked to hormones and stuff. So like after baby, menopause.
Okay.
But it's generally the widening of the split. But again, I've seen women who have male pattern as well, do you know?
And with that, is it ever reversible, or can you keep it, if you've noticed it, can you keep it at bay? Like, don't want to lose any more? Or
there's loads you can do if you catch it early.
Okay.
So I meet a lot of men in their 40s and their 50s and their hair loss is too progressed to regain the hair. You can stabilize it with loads of different forms, as well as drugs, of course, as well. And the same in a female, you know. So I would say that early intervention is key, because if those, you know, androgens take hold, they will start to miniaturize and strangle that follicle. And after about 7 years or so, it's different in everybody, of course, but in around 7 years or so, the follicle will die and it will be scarred, we call it. And there's no hair growing out of that follicle again. So I think, like, again, I've 2 kids, right? 15 and nearly 11. And my 11-year-old's a boy. And like, even his friends are carrying little combs around with them and they're moving their hair a little bit. They're more conscious of it. And the mammies are like, Claire, what are they like? And I'm like, no, like, he's seeing it. It starts when they're teenagers.
Serious.
You know? So like, I think we need to listen to people a little bit more. It's not you're gorgeous. Of course we think they're gorgeous. Yeah. But like, it's about trying to listen to people and make sure that we are helping them from a young age. If you're destined to lose your hair as a guy, you'll start to lose your hair in your teenage years and your 20s, because you have the most testosterone at that time. You know? So it's really, really important to start being proactive as much as we can. You know? Absolutely.
So if you have a young person at home, or you are a young person listening, and you do think that you're kind of looking a bit thin on the front, or like, that's the time you need to go and see someone about it, rather than, because then the hair follicle might be dead. And then it's difficult then to you won't regain that, you know. You can't bring it back from the dead, basically.
You can't. Exactly. So it's really important to act on things when we see them, you know. But there's so much that you can do. But we just need to catch it as early as possible.
And for, say, if we talk about maybe the male pattern baldness, people go and get hair restoration, you know, the treatments, and you've seen, you know, royals and all that kind of stuff, getting that done. I've also heard that some people can't get it done if it's a certain pattern of baldness. Is that right? Or how is that because they left it too long? Or
like, you have a lot of people. So basically a hair transplant, it's mainly only men who can get hair transplants. And what they do is they'll take a strip from the back of the head, so follicles that are not affected by androgenetic, right? So normally men always keep that strip at the back, right? So those follicles are absolutely fine. They're not affected by DHT. So they'll bring them forward and they'll implant them in here into the scalp. But yeah, absolutely. There can be men who have let their scalp go too far back. So if you're like, there's about 30,000 hairs here, right, in the palm of my hand. So to move that amount of follicles from back here to up here, it doesn't add up. The maths isn't there. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
But if you're 27 and you're just seeing, or, you know, I can't really put an age on it, but if you're a young man, you know, it will, and you're only seeing that kind of, that recession, absolutely, then you could, you know, you'd be a really good candidate for it. But I've seen men in their 40s as well transform their hair with hair transplants. I think hair transplants are one of the best things that you can do, you know. Typical, the women can't always avail of it, but it is one of the best things you can do. But also, I need to tell people that, like, you have to do it again. It doesn't last forever, because that DHT is still up here,
working away, doing the same thing it did in the first place.
Exactly. So like that, and like, you know, men, I see a lot of men that come back and say, I got a hair transplant there 10 years ago, Claire, and I'm starting to see, I'm like, yeah, like, that's normal. But like, what have you been doing for the past 10 years? Like, what are the products that you use? And they're using, like, you know, whatever shampoos in the shower. They're not being proactive about it. It's like going to the effort of getting a gastric band and sitting in the chipper, right? You need to be proactive with your scalp health if you're going to make those choices in your life, you know. It's work. It's a lot of work, you know. And even though that hair will instantly start growing, please don't think it's going to stay like that. You need to keep it there. You need to be exfoliating. You possibly still need to keep up your minoxidil or a energizing product of some kind.
You know? And In terms of like, say if you haven't started to lose your hair yet, but you know that your parent like has, and you're worried that that's the pattern that you're gonna follow, like kind of like, how do you approach that? You know, you might not really have signs of it yet, but how do you approach that? You're like, oh God, my dad lost his hair when he was this age and I don't want to follow that, or like what can you do? Or
is there what would be the kind of I suppose like little things, right? Like exfoliating your scalp. I can't talk about it enough. It's so important. So getting into a weekly routine of exfoliating your scalp, using an energizing shampoo, it's not going to reverse big loss, but it will keep the follicles really active. So
is that caffeine?
Yeah, exactly. So stimulant shampoo, basically. Right. So there could be like caffeine in it. There could be rosemary extract in it. Yes. There could be. So they're the kind of words that you're looking for. Energizing, right? Okay. What an energizing shampoo will do versus a, you know, moisturizing or repair shampoo, it will bring more blood up to that area for that specific time. So like we could all do with that, to be honest, you know, particularly after a certain age. Like women, every woman should be using energizing shampoo after the age of 30, I think. You know, again, it's not going to completely take us out of the running for hair loss, but it's going to get your scalp really working well. Like if you think about all of the stuff that goes on in our lives, you know, you don't need your hair to live your life. So your body knows that more than you know that.
Right.
So if you're on medication, if you're emotionally stressed, if you're, you know, trying to buy a house in this country, if you're doing all the stuff, right, that you're trying to do, your body will drop balls and it will say, okay, I'm going to concentrate on Lauren's liver and her brain and her heart. And I'm going to drop the hair because she doesn't need hair.
Yes.
And actually it's a fantastic, think of what your body's doing in that instance. Now you're still bopping around town. You're still working away. Yeah. You're still doing all the things that you can do, but your body's under that physical and emotional stress.
It's conserving resources, basically.
100%. So by using things like exfoliators, energizing shampoos, again, we're not going to solve all of that. We're not really looking to do that. What we're doing is getting and building those habits. Because if I meet you when you're in your 50s and you've never used a scalp product before, you're going to struggle. Whereas if I meet you in your 20s and I've told you, listen, Lauren, just exfoliate your scalp, use an energizing shampoo when you're over 30, a serum, be brilliant. I'd love if you used a serum as well. Yes. Get into those habits. Then in 10, 20 years, you're going to be way more able to look after your scalp when you need to look after it. Okay. Again, we all use skincare. But again, as we said, fingers crossed we're going to look 80 one day, right? Yeah. But we still invest in it and we still spend money on it and do the bits, you know? And I always get, I don't have time, Claire. You know, I have 7 kids and I'm working full time and all the stuff, right? Yeah. But like she's washing her face and she's brushing her teeth and she's putting on her night serum. So why not pop on a lovely energizing serum to the scalp as well, do you know?
Rather than waiting for the hair loss to happen.
Because like hair loss, like again, when I say anti-aging serum to the scalp, people are like, I don't care if I have wrinkly scalp. I'm like, no, it's not wrinkles. It's not wrinkles you're concerned with. An aging scalp shows in the hair. Yes. So we don't actually really care what our scalps look like as long as like the scalp is covered in hair.
By hair. Yeah.
So like the consequence of an aging scalp is fine, thinning, brittle hair.
Yes.
And you see that in the hair. And most people react and spend money here.
Yes.
Whereas we said it's like sending your great granny a bunch of flowers. She doesn't care. She's long gone. Dead, right? As you said, bring your mom and dad out for lunch. Bring your brothers and sisters out for lunch.
Being your scalp. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Spend a little bit more money and time there. You're going to see more overall success.
You get the returns on your investment, basically. Yeah. Okay. So, because nowadays we are so into skincare and everyone know, like what we hear is like, don't bother doing your retinol on your skin if you're not going to wear SPF. So you wear your SPF to prevent the aging in the first place. So by I suppose exfoliating our scalp, we're reducing the inflammation so that it can thrive, so that it can, it's not in a
you're using an exfoliator to get rid of like any level of buildup on the scalp first of all, to reduce inflammation, which helps. Like if there's inflammation in the scalp, there's hair loss on the scalp, you know. If a volcano went off in Dublin city centre right now, we'd be up in Belfast. The villagers don't hang around when the volcano is active, right? So lowering inflammation is always important, right? So exfoliation will help you with that. It won't completely solve it, but it'll help with it. But also it's going to help if you take everything off the scalp, your hair is going to get out easier and other products are going to be able to penetrate. So it actually improves the efficacy of everything else. And particularly if you're somebody who has psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, dandruff, oily scalp, eczema, all of those things, you know, it's even more important for you to lower that inflammation on the scalp, you know. And you won't always do that topically. You're going to have to do that within your life in general. Like stay away from stress. If somebody could tell me how I do that, please let me know. Stay away from stress. Like your diet plays a big role, your lifestyle, everything else. So it's not just, and people sometimes say, I didn't like that shampoo, Claire, it was terrible. I'm like, yeah, but like your swallow Maltesers like they're cucumbers. Do you know that kind of way as well? So like there is a big piece there in terms of like long-term, health of your scalp, you know, definitely.
And what I actually noticed, I used your detox shampoo. I feel like it doesn't lather as much as the other ones, but I think the lather is cosmetic, if I'm not mistaken. That's to give you the feeling that you're doing loads of stuff with your hair, isn't it? Like that it's actually getting to the base of that's
actually kind of hard, like for shampoos to do that. So like, again, you're pulling resources from what the shampoo needs to do. The shampoo, like exactly, you pop it into your hand and there's charcoal within it, it's black. So charcoal will pull all of that stuff that you don't need in your hair, but there's a real balance of not pulling too much out of the hair.
Gotcha.
Because you don't want to take the natural oils and everything out of the hair if you can help it.
Of course.
But yeah, like your hair is a fabric. So I always use the example of when I come in on a winter's day, like tonight, I'll come in and I'll keep my coat on because the heating's not on yet. So I'll stick the heating on and I'll start cooking the dinner.
Yes.
And my coat's still on. Then I'm sweating then all of a sudden and I take the coat off and the coat smells like the dinner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So fabrics will hold on to a huge amount, you know? So it's really, really important to try and take that out of the hair.
Yes.
And then then use a hair mask maybe again, because when you use a detox, a clarify shampoo, the slates of the roof even open even further. Okay. So that's a good idea then to use a hair mask to really try and get in.
Gotcha.
It's like a real spring clean. You open all the windows when you're spring cleaning.
Yes.
Okay. But if you left them open, if you don't use a conditioner mask, you're going to get damage in the house.
Yes.
Do you know?
Yes.
So trying to close up all that to protect the hair as much as possible.
And I notice when I do that it takes to the product better, because beforehand, like I exercise a lot, so I'd have a lot of probably sweat build up, that kind of thing. So once I've done that first wash and removed that, then it does start to take to product, whether it's my next shampoo or my next. So I'm like, I know that this is acting right at the root. So yeah,
definitely. And trying to just, and like people think as well that you shampoo the hair.
Yeah.
No one in their right mind should be shampooing their hair.
Yes,
so
that's
like,
what I mean. Yeah.
So like you're shampooing your scalp always. And then of course the shampoo will fall down your hair and clean your hair to an element. But you shouldn't be like, so when your hair is wet, it's 41% more likely to break. Okay.
Wow.
So if you were to do this, you're just smashing plates in the kitchen. Okay. So really concentrate on the scalp, and also don't be afraid to lift your hair up and give yourself like a set of pigtails in the shower and get some shampoo and really get into the back. A lot of people don't clean the back of their scalp enough, especially people like if they've issues with their scalp, they're afraid of it. They're afraid to touch their scalp. They don't want to irritate their psoriasis. They don't want to pull more hair out, if they're losing hair. But one of the worst things you can do is not wash your scalp enough, you know? So don't be afraid of that. But your shampoo's up here.
Yeah.
Always leave a shampoo in your scalp for like 2 minutes if you can. Turn off the water, of course, and leave it there and let it do its job.
Yes.
Rinse that out and then follow with the conditioner mask. And conditioner masks don't need much time. Okay. Like they say 2, 3, 20 minutes.
Yes.
A good conditioner mask should work in 30 to 60 seconds.
Oh, amazing.
So, so if, again, we've been told leave your conditioner sit.
Yes.
It's actually the opposite. Leave your shampoo sit. Let that do its job. That's way more important.
Yeah.
Your conditioner is like your moisturizer for your face. Like any good dermatologist will say, I would just stop spending money on moisturizer.
Okay.
Any moisturizer will do.
Yes.
Any conditioner mask will do if your hair's not really severely damaged.
Once you've treated the scalp.
Yeah.
That's such a shift, because you do feel like you're buying the product. You want the one that says really shiny, gorgeous hair. Yeah. And but you were saying earlier, like about how you use the shampoo to treat the hair that you have and the conditioner for the hair that you want to have.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So stop buying the matching stuff.
Okay. Stop buying the match. Okay, so shiny hair shampoo, shiny hair, but I don't have shiny hair. I have really coarse hair.
Yes.
So I'm buying something that's going to help with drier hair for my shampoo, and then shiny hair for my conditioner. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there, Claire, as well, which I feel like is such a huge area, postpartum, like hair loss. And because I guess that's conditional or circumstantial to the fact that you've just had a huge drain on your resources, I'm guessing like for a lot of people that is reversible, or like what would someone do if they're realizing that that's something they're going through?
So I would say like a lot of people think that you grow more hair in pregnancy. You don't. You just lose less.
Oh,
so,
okay.
you know, it's not, so like if you can imagine like a gorgeous pregnant woman, like her boobs are getting bigger, her bump is getting bigger, everything's getting bigger, right? Your hair bulbs swell, okay? So it's harder for them to leave the scalp.
Okay.
So you don't lose as much hair in pregnancy. That's all because of gorgeous hormones and stuff that are going through our body. Then when we give birth, then, you know, it can be delayed with breastfeeding. So if you're not breastfeeding, if you are breastfeeding, it will change a little bit. But about 3 to 6 months after, you know, you give birth, you'll see a shed in the hair. Okay. And that's not really hair loss. That's hair that you haven't lost in pregnancy, you know, but you see it, you know, you see it. And I think a lot of people blame, of course, it's a huge hormonal issue, like in the imbalance in hormones, and 24 hours after a woman gives birth, her hormones are on the floor. They've drastically changed, but it's also the stress. And even though it's the most wonderful time of your life, you've just brought a human being into the mix, you know, and there's no preparing you for that, you know, so you're not eating properly, you're not sleeping properly, you're not washing your scalp enough because you don't have as much time. So when I meet a pregnant woman and I'm like, is it your first baby? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, like you still have time. So like, let's get into those habits. So let's start exfoliating. Let's use an energizing shampoo.
And they can use those while pregnant? Okay.
Most cosmetic products that are made in Europe, make sure they're made in Europe, are actually really safe for pregnant women. Pharmaceutical products, of course, are different, and you're going to ask those questions. But a lot of like, that you can't, God, the hoops you have to go to make a product in Europe, which is brilliant.
Yes, we're protected as consumers.
We're so protected as consumers. So like a cosmetic product that's made in Europe is generally safer. Like there's a lot of chat about salicylic acid in pregnancy, but again, there's such small numbers that it's safe, do you know? So do a bit of research, always ask your doctor, your pharmacist, do your own research on it. But yes, getting into those habits while you're pregnant, especially your first baby, because you do have more time. Whereas if it's your 5th baby, you're not going to have any time, you know what I mean? I don't even how you've made that 5th baby. I don't know how you are doing it, guys, fair play to you. But like, do you know, that kind of way? Like it's about trying to set those habits. And again, like I get people emailing all the time, asking us questions and texting us, and how do I stop hair loss? There's no stopping it.
Right.
Some women will never. I remember on my first child, now I was 23, it helped, right? Didn't lose any hair. On my second child, I did lose a little bit of hair. You know, so it's about like, it's not going to happen in every pregnancy. It's not going to happen in every,
even within the same person having different pregnancies.
It's just completely different all the time. So I have a lot of women, God love them, that already struggle with their hair. And they're so nervous about getting pregnant, which sounds awful, that they're not, they don't want to go down that road because they're so afraid. And like, what a shame for them to be in that situation, you know? And also, of course, like we can't forget people that have miscarried. They will go through the same thing. You know, women who are going through IVF treatment and everything else, they'll go through the same thing as well. So a lot of those women, building those habits when you can, when you still have some time to yourself, please God, will only set you up good, you know? But then people say to me, Claire, my eldest is 10 or my youngest is 10 even, you know? But I'm like, is anything the same? Like, are your boobs the same? Is your belly the same? Is anything? Is your mind the same? Like, probably not, you know? So it's about kind of trying to understand that as well, that we may never get back to the way it once was. But, and I'm a real setter of expectations, you know, I think it's really important to tell people that. You're not falsely
promising.
No, you know, but it can get better from where it is now. Definitely. You know,
so it's about kind of, like, I suppose if you're thinking about a pregnancy, or if you're, you know, that's something in your future, to get into those habits now, much like your skincare, and then to keep that going then during a pregnancy or postpartum. And then, as you said, like, say if you were exfoliating your scalp and whatever else, and then 3 to 6 months later, you said that the hair loss is going to happen if it's going to happen, but you just keep doing your habits and keeping up with that. And then what about, like, do you get asked about supplements and stuff like that when it comes to?
I'm a big believer in supplementing only when you need to. You know? So like, I think there's so many products on the market, and people are rattling walking around now these days that, like, you know, and we can't ignore that market, that huge market that's there. I would much rather people go to their GP, get a blood test, or go to a trichology office and do a blood clinic and get specific bloods and panels for for your hair.
So you do bloods in the trichology clinic?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like that, like, you know, when we look at hair, again, a GP is so busy, right? So when you say, I'm really concerned about my hair, will you do my bloods? They do your bloods. They ring you, Lauren, you're great, you're brilliant, off you go. There's nothing obscure there. But the way a trichologist will read blood is a little bit different because it is the last resource in the body. It is the last priority of the body. So we do need your iron levels, your ferritin levels, your zinc levels, your B12 levels, a bit more to get to that last hurdle, which is your hair. We need them to be raised almost a little bit. Okay. So we do look at them very, very differently, you know?
So it's not just about like, because they'd say this is normal. Your iron levels are normal. But what, like, you know, what if like everyone in the population is a little bit deficient, and because of my genetic predisposition, that means that my low iron means that I don't know now, but like that it's affecting my hair. For me personally, you know. So,
and I've seen like women change their hair with like by changing their ferritin levels, by changing their zinc levels,
because they know that it's low.
They know that. Yeah. So like, again, a lot of these supplements, of course, like, and you'll know this, of course, Lauren, but like, you know, you're paying for a lot of stuff that you probably don't need. Yeah. So like, get specific. I'm like, okay, you're just low in iron. Brilliant. Just go and get an iron supplement and save yourself a fortune every month, you know? So like that. And don't get me wrong, like, we sell hair supplements. We talk about the goodness of them, but also I will also be very specific with people and say, I want you to go get a blood test, and let's be strategic here. Yes. Because if you want to see that growth, if you want to see that density return, we're going to try and get you there the quickest way possible. Yes. And that's where the strategy comes into it, you know, and the kind of stacking of habits. Yes. It's not a shampoo that's going to rewind the clock by 5 years. It's also not a supplement that's going to do that. So just be really, really careful. And there's a lot of, I suppose, trickery that goes on online, you know, and, you know, there's a lot of companies out there that want as much money as possible. So just be really careful on who you trust, you know. And
I think it's if you're in a vulnerable position where, you know, this is a real pain point, your identity is under attack if you start to lose your hair, or you feel like you might be losing your hair, that you'd almost try anything and you'd almost pay any amount. And if you just think, whether it's hair loss or it's another issue in your life, am I kind of a vulnerable person here? And like, it's almost like the algorithm can read your mind. You might even have said it out loud or looked it up, but that you get those ads then, and you're just kind of like, you know, oh God, I'll try this, and I don't want to talk to anyone about it. I'm too embarrassed to talk to anyone about hair loss. So and I know you get people coming in with, you know, someone else sent them, or their wife brought them along, or whatever it is. But it's I think if you're a vulnerable person, just watch out for the messaging that you're receiving, isn't it?
And go to like a trusted source who's going to look at it from so many different angles. I'm not just trying to sell you an exfoliator. I'm not just trying to sell you a supplement. I'm not just trying to sell you a treatment. We're going to really take you as an individual and see how we can improve things. And it's not just one or the other. It's a complete like 360, you know. But I've seen wonderful things happen with supplements as well, but more in a strategic way. Otherwise, like we always say, like, you're just paying for really expensive weed. You know? So it's really important that, you know, we realize that. And I wish people would, again, seek help instead of just buying something because there was a discount code, or you know, like, you know, it's your health and your body is telling you something, you know. Your body is wonderful. Like it's really giving you signs. Like I say that all the time, like, as much as I hated my alopecia when it happened, it was better than a heart attack, you know. My body was trying to tell me. And it's funny how your body picks things. Like, if I lost weight, if I put on weight, if I got bad skin, I just whack on the makeup and get on with it. Yes. But my hair was my thing, you know, and my body knew that. I was like, how are we going to stop clearing her tracks here? And it was that wake up call, you know.
And as you said, I think that's really interesting. The hair is the, like, from an evolutionary perspective, the least important, the least of your worries kind of thing. Like, I was speaking to dietitian Ciara McNulty earlier today about, you know, periods, and how when we're under-fueled or undernourished, women lose their periods. And that's your body telling you, well, we can't have a pregnancy right now because, you know, like we just don't have enough resources barely for you, never mind for a baby. So that's kind of like the same story with your hair, is that, you know, hair growing is not so important right now. Let's focus on your liver. Let's focus on your kidneys. It really is a sign of health, I suppose. And
I think sometimes that can be linked to a lot of shame for a lot of people. Like, I see people blaming their hair loss on themselves, you know, or blaming them and God, I wish I was better at this and I wish I was better at that and this is my fault. And whereas like, you know, it can be a sign of health, but also it can be a sign of, you know, struggle and just needing help, you know, and it's like, it's not a failure of your body. It's like, okay, so, you know, how are we going to reboot this whole thing, you know? Yes. And I notice, especially certain types of hair loss, it happens to the same type of people.
Okay.
Especially alopecia areata, what I have. Like, I've never met a person with alopecia areata that I didn't have to burst their bubble. So almost make them cry. You know, and let it out of them.
They're holding everything.
They're holding everything in. So they're like that swan, you know, and they're on the pond and they're like struggling inside, but like they would, you know, give you their last euro. They would do anything for you. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. And like, I'm a classic one of those.
Yeah.
But
the
I
body
think
keeps the score kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that I've never met somebody with alopecia areata and I instantly know that about them, you know, and they hold a lot of stuff to themselves.
Yeah.
So I think like that's so interesting as well. And I've also rarely meet people with alopecia areata that don't have loads of hair. Again, your body knows.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick Claire up the bum with this patch of alopecia. It won't really make that much of a difference to her because it's only one patch. She's got loads of hair. Yeah. I rarely meet somebody with fine hair with alopecia areata.
Okay.
It's very interesting, isn't it? That like your body knows what you're going to react to.
Yes, that this is, I need to tell her that she's not looking after herself, that we're stressed all the time. Yeah, I think like I'm hugely all about holistic healthcare and like listening to the signs and you know, like approaching everything from the point of view of looking after the whole self. So like even what you say about like, I constantly say that like about like nice people, like the people that I meet in pharmacy, like the most lovely people that might have some kind of autoimmune condition, like it might not be hair, it might be something else, but like it's just your body telling you that you do too much. And oftentimes it's people who say are in a caring position, they look after an elderly parent or and their kids and their husband and everyone else, you know. So I think that's a huge piece, is to like look after yourself holistically.
100%.
Do the yoga.
Like
I always say, like I don't mind doing woo-woo stuff as long as it does no harm. Like as in like, you know, I'll do all the spiritual, like, you know, anything that as long as it's gonna help you.
Whatever's gonna happen. I remember like when my hair started to grow back, you know, like when my hair, like 90% is a huge amount of loss, you know. So I remember when I was sitting in town and I was a bit early for my appointment, so I went into a bar and I got a double gin. I'll never forget it. So then I got another double gin. Things were going downhill. And I was sitting there and I was so angry at the world, and I was sitting there in my wig and I was so annoyed. And I was like, oh God, Claire. And then I remember actually like it was yesterday, a man outside begging, and I was like, Claire, get your arse up off this seat, go in for the appointment that you paid for. If you've no hair for the rest of your life, you are luckier than most people. Get into that bloody clinic now. And I remember just going, and actually going, do you know what? I have a husband who loves me. I have 2 healthy children. I'm going to be okay. But it took a long time to get there. And I remember sitting there, probably stinking of gin. And I peeled my wig off and I sat in front of the mirror, and I had the very first woman I met on the first day that I went to the clinic, and she goes, oh my God, give me your phone. And she took my phone and she recorded my scalp, and I had all these gorgeous little white fluffy hairs all over my scalp, and I would put my house on it. They weren't there that morning. They definitely were. Yeah. But I couldn't see them. Because I was so angry, and I hated myself in that time. And I remember when I just literally released that out of my body, how then everything started to change. Now, as much hope as those little white hairs gave me, they also gave me huge fear. Because they'll go again, it's too good to be true, you know, and all of these things. And actually, to be honest, the process of growing my hair back was more painful than losing it, which is very strange, isn't it?
Because it's the in-between kind of.
The in-between, but it's also God, Claire, you're going to have to work out what's going on. This didn't happen for no reason. And that's the painful work. The hair is really hard, but it's also like, why did this happen in the first place? And 10 years on, I'm probably only figuring that out now. Just got diagnosed with ADHD. So, you know, like all of those things that I was suppressing, that I was trying to push down, I was trying to manage a lot, you know? That's where it came from. I mean, I'm sober now 5 years, thank God, but drink took over my life for a long time because I couldn't cope, you know? So it's all of that other background noise, you know? And people I meet that lose their hair, or people with autoimmune conditions, they are the people that will bear everything on their back for the family or for work or whatever that is, you know? So that's a real, and I suppose why I'm good at my job is because I've been through that.
Yeah.
Is because I know I'm gonna burst Lauren now.
Yeah.
She's not gonna like me for it, but she will thank me for it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to get her, lift her, find where that emotional point is, and I'm gonna have to burst her a little bit and just let her release it all, and then we can start.
Isn't that amazing though?
It is.
Like,
that
you know, you think the two are separate, that you have symptoms here and you have like an emotional human being over here, but like it's just so interconnected, and until we see that for ourselves and until we see that we're holding everything in, like it's just like it's crazy.
And I think come here again, it's taken me nearly 10 years to get to this point, you know, but like some people don't have 10 years, and I think what we really have to get better at as people who give care to others is that in between. It's like hair loss is kind of treated still like this vanity thing, and just get over it, could be worse. And there's people out there losing their hair for way worse reasons than you, and there's such a shame and a guilt attached to hair loss, you know, that then we even push people further into that shame and further into that neglect almost, you know. And when people do go to their GP or their dermatologist or their pharmacist and they're not met with the kind of emotion, because it does affect people. I mean, I didn't leave my house for years. It was huge. And I've met people over the years that have taken their lives because of their hair loss, that have left jobs, who don't carry on relationships. It can hugely affect your life, you know? And I think until it happens to you, it's very difficult to comprehend that, like most things, you know? But I definitely think that there has to be more a level of education and honest work that goes with it. And we haven't cracked that completely yet, you know, because there's so much other stuff going on, of course. But I think that, you know, what I'm really proud of is that we have done that in Trua. You know, we have, you know, cultivated a way to look after people as best we can. And have huge success stories. But also the people that I don't get success stories with, they'll still say, Claire helped us, or Claire helped me, Claire helped my wife, my partner, because there's a certain level of care that goes with that. And most of our trichologists have been through some form of alopecia or hair loss themselves.
That's what drew them to the profession.
So it draws them there, you know, and I think it's a great way. I think, I can't remember the actual phrase, but it's like the best teachers or the best masters of something are those who've walked the walk, you know, that kind of way, are those the people that understand it to a deeper level. But also, you need to educate yourself as well. Just because you go through something, it doesn't mean that you're a professional at it. So you need to marry those two worlds, you know, and be the best that you can be in terms of information and education. But then also never forget how that truly affected you, because you'll do a better job.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I think that would definitely resonate with people who've, you know, found them in a caring profession or giving people information and advice. So I suppose if someone's listening and they are experiencing hair conditions or hair issues or scalp related issues, hair loss, or they know somebody who is, I suppose the advice is to go and seek help. Don't click buy on that product that you just saw on your ad coming up. Like, go and speak to someone like you. And then if it is an underlying condition, you will refer them to the GP, to the dermatologist, whatever, if it's something that needs medication. But that if the presenting complaint is the hair, a trichologist is going to help you. I feel very cliche, but like get to the root of it, you know, excuse the puns, but you know, like really like get figure that out. And what I didn't know actually is that you do the blood work as well, which I love because I do feel like with hair, especially with supplements and things like that it's like hit and hope hockey is what I used to. I was terrible at hockey, but they used to say that we played hit and hope hockey. But that you're just kind of hoping for the best, a shot in the dark. So responding to your individual needs and not recognizing you're a vulnerable person in the consumer space.
And bring someone with you. Bring some, if you're in that space where, you know, you feel vulnerable and you feel on edge, bring your boyfriend, bring your sister, bring your mom, you know, and let them be there for you and guide you and be the more level-headed person in that scenario. Because God, I and my mom and dad paid thousands to get my hair back. And like, I can't say it didn't work because I'm sitting here with hair coming out my eyeballs, right? So I can't give out about that. But now I know what I do, and I get patches all the time, and I'd never do what I did the first time. You know, so it's about trying to make sure that in those vulnerable situations that you trust the person that you're talking to, and you know that they're not trying to just, you know, take the money off you and all that kind of stuff. But what I do think is that we owe people, you know, the clarity of knowing their own bodies as best they can. We owe it to people to explain what alopecia areata is, what is androgenetic alopecia, what is psoriasis, because many of these conditions will be with you for life, you know? So it's about, like, I think that's at least we can do as healthcare professionals. But I get that most of the healthcare professionals don't have the time for that because they're under severe pressure. So let's take the load off that a little bit, you know, and go to people who are trained to look after people in that way. And, you know, looking after people together, like that's the future of it, you know,
collaboratively.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you.
So I think that if anyone who's listening wants to find you, definitely to check out Trua Clinic. And the gorgeous products that are your Remi. I'm using them and I'm definitely benefiting from them. So really loving them. Yeah, Claire, and then find you on Instagram as well. I love following you. You're very real. You keep it real. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Claire.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And we'll all be in 2026 looking after our scalps.
We will. Please do. Please do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of The Wellness Script. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit subscribe and review with 5 stars. It really helps us to grow and keep these evidence-based conversations coming with top experts to help you on your health and wellness journey. You can follow us at Wellness Script Pod on socials for more. And a huge thank you to our sponsor, Sona Vitamins, Ireland's longest established nutritional supplement producer. Catch you next Wednesday with a brand new episode, Your Prescription for Better Living.